So hopping on here, 3:30 on Sunday, spring forward, and some of us may be getting adjusted to the time shift. I know I am, but yeah, I wanted to just make sure that we are live, see who's here with me, and yeah, if I can answer any questions here today, let me and this should be live right now, or at least I think it is. If y'all give me a second here just to get myself set. And there we go. All right, cool. So I got the live chat fired up here right now. And yeah, let me know if you're on here. Let me know what questions you have. If you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. And again, I leave it as an open floor for anybody. But I try and do this as a way to kind of consolidate a lot of the comments I'm getting on the videos and encourage people to hop on. Let's hop on, let's talk about it. Let me know how I can help you, what questions you have, if there's something you want to chat about. And I usually tell people this is really just like, yeah, me hanging out with friends, chatting with friends. Hey, Joel. Oh, good to see you. You are a regular, Joel. I think I might have to make you head of the class. Thanks for joining us here, Joel. Yeah, and so just you can see the weather, or maybe you can't, but I'm looking out the window right now, and the weather is changing. It's gorgeous, and that means touring season's right around the corner, and that means gigs are just opening up. And so everyone talks about, I know in Nashville, everyone talks about slow season and about how they just need to get through it and then wait till, the weather warms up, and then all of a sudden it's like a sprint. It's like a 9-month sprint. And that 3 months goes by very quickly. It feels like it's very long and it feels like you're dragging, but then all of a sudden the phone starts ringing off the hook. You start getting all these calls and opportunities, and have you laid down your groundwork for the year of all the things that you need to prepare for going out on the road, or what your strategy is for the upcoming busy months. Are you going to try to go out on the road? Are you a weekend warrior? Are you, no, I'm a full-time musician and I really just want to kind of be in my own place and not go out on the road? And I think having those intentions is super important. Really kind of focusing on what you want to do and how you want to go about doing it is really important. And I wanted to share with everyone before we start chatting. I wanted to share something about just kind of, everybody talks about what they want or in the perfect world. And I found it kind of interesting that everyone talks about, let me get this fired up here. Everybody, give me one moment here. This is kind of rough. So I wanted to share a quote from my journal, if I can pull up that journal page, but it's kind of like a credo I've been living by, and really, really following. And what I've been doing this year is kind of writing out my goals every day, reviewing where I want to be every day, and just keeping that in mind. And doing that practice has been really beneficial to me, and really just kind of helping me stay on course with what I want to do. And here it is. And this is something that I wrote to myself, and I want to encourage everyone to just kind of remind themselves of this, is that, and this is what I write every morning, something like this. I was writing what I wanted to do for the year, and I said, you can do anything, talking to myself. And it won't be easy to do that, and it's fun to say it, but it's really hard to do it. You are the writer of your own future. Don't wait for it to happen, make it happen. It happens through small, consistent, boring steps done over time. Those small, consistent, boring steps lead to exciting results. And I kind of read these things daily, or write these things daily, to remind myself that, okay, I need to get some things in line here. Like this weekend, I am sorting cables. I am organizing hard drive space. I'm getting ready for infrastructure upgrade where I'm gonna probably drop several $1,000s on this channel and on this project. And I didn't want to do that until I have everything sorted and kind of in line. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of doing right now is, I have some bigger things on the horizon and, I could have taken a couple more gigs this weekend, but I really wanted to focus on just, all right, getting myself prepared for what the future is going to bring. So enough of my own jibber jabber. I want to know what's on everyone else's mind. Who else is on this chat? How can I help you out? What questions do you have about, or what thoughts, what feedback, what would you like to chat about here today? I usually keep this open for about 30 minutes. Sometimes it extends to 45 if we have some people on. But like, how can I help you? How can I be of use right now? And that's what I'm here for. Because eventually I'm going to start changing this model, and I really like doing the live chats. I want to do it on a fairly consistent level where I can get people can get access to talking to me, asking about what things they could do for their future, what things I've done, and by no means do I have the answers at all. I just really like sharing my point of view and my experiences because I never had someone do that for me when I was coming up, and having learned those lessons now, I think it would have been a lot easier if I had listened to somebody else. So what do you guys got going on? Any gigs this week? Any questions about Nashville? Any questions about recording? Any questions about, anything music related? That's what I'm here for. Because we got about 5 people on the chat, and I know at least one of them is real. I know Joel's real, and we might have maybe 4 bots, maybe 2 or 3, maybe another person. But seriously, hop on, just say hi. And really, this is kind of a conversation. Okay, Anna, you say you're not a bot, but I'm not quite so sure. Anna, where are you from? And tell me about yourself. What brought you over here today? We have at least one real person on here. All right, and then we got, Rhett. Hey, Rhett. Anna, okay. Anna, Anna, I am sorry. My apologies. Hey, Rhett. Rhett, who are you playing with tonight at Second Fiddle, and what floor are you playing on? I met Rhett maybe about a month or so ago over at Tin Roof on Demumbrun. Rhett, I think there's another meetup this March 12th. I think that's this Tuesday. Anna, Holland, Michigan, what do you do musically? What do you do playing-wise? I want to hear about that. And Rhett, tell me where you're playing tonight. Tell me about that because I would love to check you out at some point. And so Joel says, how do you plan on juggling family, significant other with the road? That's a really good question, Joel. And that's something I always really kind of struggle with. Not even having a family or being on the road, but how to have these conversations. How to have these conversations publicly while also maintaining a private life. And what do I share publicly with people and what do I keep private? And a couple thoughts on that is that first, on social media, some people they make their quote unquote brand on social media on just sharing everything. You love the soap opera. You love seeing, the drama. And then some people make their presence on social media by almost playing a character, like a version of themselves, but not themselves. Like they have Instagram voice or YouTube voice, and they try to present this kind of character or this version of themselves that's not really true. And I really try to figure out a way to balance that because I made a video earlier this week. I'm not sure if and when I'm going to post it, but one thing I really think I value, not just on YouTube, not just as a person, but as a musician, in business, anything, is authenticity. And people can smell bullshit from a mile away, right? And one of the things I always wanted to do was, when I was coming up, I would see all these musicians like succeeding, and I think they were like in this different universe than me, and everything was nice and easy for them. And I had no idea what that entailed. And I think some people still feel that way, but if you look at people online right now, I think a lot of us, we are just one or two steps away from what those people are doing. It's just there's, again, the smoke and mirrors. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to present like some kind of, I am some unattainable or some different stratus. I'm just like everybody else, and showing people that you can do it. It's just hard work. But then on the other hand, social media is business media. Like, we really are presenting ourselves as a business and a brand, and you don't air out all your dirty laundry on social media or on your business. You don't talk about the difficult personal things in life. I try not to say anything on social media, online, in text, in person, that I wouldn't say to someone else's face. And on the same token, I keep a lot of things really private because, YouTube could go away tomorrow. My career could go away tomorrow. Your family, your friends, that last forever, and your relationships last forever, and those are sacred. And I'm trying to figure out what to let people in on with my personal life and what not to let people in on. And I can say, man, there's no easy answer, Joel, with struggling personal relationships and family with being on the road. And it's also, what do you value? So my stepfather raised me and my sister, and he was a working musician. And he didn't tour that much at all. He was always around, and he supported our family. I also think he's a bit of a homebody. But he did some touring when I was younger. Like, I would see him on MTV. Those are like some of my earliest memories. But he also raised me, and he was always home, and he was always working as a musician. And that was really positive for me in my life. And that's something I always wanted to, like, he did all that so I could have opportunities to do what I wanted. And lo and behold, I picked music. And my parents were like, "You sure you want to do music?" I don't know. But yeah, that's why I did music. But also, so with people, when I say write your own future, what if you just want to do studio work? What if you say, you know what, I just want to work in town. I don't want to be away from my family. I only want to work from these hours during the day. And is that easy to do? No, absolutely not, especially when you're your own boss, especially when you run your own business. But it's possible. You just have to put your mind to it. Merle Haggard says, once he signed up for a musician, he was signing up for the 50-year bus ride. And some people love that, just constantly going on the road. You don't get paid to play music, you get paid to travel. And in terms of just my personal life and my mental health, my physical health, I'm not sure if I want to do that. I'm not saying I do or don't, but I might want to do things where I have more control over what I do. And I will be spending some time on the road this year. I'm not sure how much. So yeah, it's really, it's a tough one to say. And I think the earlier you are in your career, the less boundaries you can have. You might be willing to do some really stupid things, like the turn and burns. And sometimes you have to really, what they say, paying your dues. But paying your dues when you're going out on the road is really, you're just building a network. You're learning things, you're learning what works for you personally and what doesn't. And a lot of people do that when they're younger because you have more stamina for that and you're more willing to crash on a floor. I don't crash on couches anymore. It's just not what I do. I don't do the turn and burns. It's not my thing. And I tell people, if that's what the tour is, I may not be your guy. And does that cost me some opportunities? Yeah, probably. But I also want to think about my own happiness and my health and my fulfillment. And I am not fulfilled by driving, 12 hours to a gig, playing 4 hours, turning around, driving right back, and then playing a gig as soon as I get back. There are guys in town that do that stay up for like 30, 40 hours straight. No joke. And that's just not something I'm willing to do or want to do. So really, like Joel, there are so many different ways to approach this. And I think a lot of it is mindset. Like, what kind of career, what kind of future do you want? What are your priorities? If your priorities are to your family and you want to stay home and you want to be around them, you can make it happen. Like my stepdad, he played dance classes. He delivered newspapers. A big part of my early music education was riding around in my stepdad's truck as he delivered newspapers, listening to his music. That was some of the best music education I could have. But he did things like, my stepdad was a punk rocker growing up, and he started playing musical theater gigs to support us, and he stayed in town, and he needed to be there to keep me in line, because if he was out of town, he knew the way I was, I would, yes, cause quite a ruckus. So that's a great question, Joel. So, Rhett, yeah, so Rhett, you're playing, what time are you playing tonight at the Second Fiddle? And you're playing with Loud and Company. I would, Rhett, tell me what time you're playing. Anna, sorry. Play drums and electric guitar mostly at churches. So you're in Holland, Michigan. Are you gigging? Is this your career? Do you want to be your career? Is this your hobby? Kind of a little bit of both. And Joel, personal info, should be private. And again, general, man, it's like, how do you generally make it in the music business? And the wonderful and also frightening thing about the music business is that there's no blueprint. There's no do this, do this, do this to get this. Like if you go to school to be a lawyer, you can join a law firm. You can partner. Maybe you bounce around. Or if you're a doctor, maybe you join a clinic. Maybe you start your own practice. As a musician, you can really write your own future based on what you want. So you have a lot of power, but you have a lot of freedom, and some people like that freedom, but with that freedom, you really need to be disciplined. And it's going to be different for everybody. Some people just want to be a side musician and dictate their own life. Cool. One of my best buddies playing on the road with Bob Dylan right now, he was telling me he would give anything to be a stay-at-home dad right now. Where I would give anything to be out on the road with Bob Dylan. It's two sides of the coin. So just think about that. Grass is always greener. What do you really want? And so, Annalisa, do you think musicians on Broadway get paid a minimum wage? It's a good question. So you're talking about musicians who are playing shifts on Broadway at these honky-tonks? Let's talk about that, because that's something that's really been on my mind a lot lately, and I was supposed, I got offered a gig today, and I said, no, I can't do that. I'm sorry, not for that money. But yeah, and there might be a little bit of a delay here. I'm looking online, and yes, I'm watching online. There's a little bit of a delay, so forgive me if there's a lag in responses. But is it Annalisa? I want to make sure. I know we got an Anna here, and I want to make sure I get the other A name correct. But in terms of Broadway, there being a minimum wage, that's a really interesting question. And I try to talk about things very objectively, and I try not to color things and let people decide for themselves. And so I will just give you this information with Broadway very objectively, and you can take it from there. Okay, so Annalisa or Annalisa? So with honky tonks on Broadway, I think it's about using base pay for a 4-hour shift, and the shifts go from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And sometimes there's like wiggle room, sometimes there's like a half-hour start or finish. But those are the general timelines for honky-tonk shifts. And so pay for those starts out for a band at about $300 to $400. So if you have 4 people in your band, that is going to be $75 to $100 for 4 hours of work. And that's not including parking, which you have to pay for. Usually you can get a discounted validation parking, which can be a pain in the ass, and you have to walk about a half mile. But it's about like $10, $15, but you have to pay for that. And then you have to bring a certain amount of gear. Like if you're a drummer, you need to bring snare, cymbals, kick pedal, throne, sticks. Usually everyone needs to bring in-ear monitors. If you're a guitarist, you need to bring your pedal board. Some places you can bring an amp. Some places you're not allowed to bring an amp. If you're a bassist, same thing. Yeah, and you play 4 hours straight. There's no breaks built into the set, so sometimes they'll have like a guitarist sing a song by themselves while everyone goes pee, and then somebody else in the band can sing a song by themselves while everyone else goes pee. And you're essentially working for tips. Because after you spend money on gas to get there, after you spend money on your parking, after you spend money on your gear upkeep, you're essentially playing for tips. And this is where like the real strategy comes in. Like what's your goal playing on Broadway? You know, what's your goal being in Nashville? What's your goal as a musician? And if we're looking exclusively at pay, you can make a living on Broadway in Nashville. You have to be smart about it, and you have to kind of navigate your way through the scene. And that scene is always evolving. It's always changing. The gigs are always coming and going, and you have to kind of figure out where the trends are at. So you can make a living down there. It's tricky, and you have to. Broadway's also really good at. You can make money on Broadway if you're good at hustling. If you're great at music, maybe. It really helps if you're good at hustling, being on a mic, hustling with a tip bucket, finding a way to get people to tip, finding a way to get people to support you, or if you're just like out of this world extraordinary. So one of the artists I work with, Aaron Nichols, I always try to get him on live because he's just a great singer, great guitarist. The window's open when we're playing, people just come in, and they gladly tip. But really, most musicians on Broadway are playing for tips. And the pay that the honky-tonks give to the musicians is really just a drop in the bucket. The honky-tonks aren't paying musicians that much at all. So who's paying the musician's salary? It's the tourists that are coming and tipping. So one thing I've been telling people to keep an eye on is that Nashville is growing. There's more honky-tonks. There's more stages opening up. And I say, think about it like a sporting league. Think about it like, let's say the NFL grew from, 30 teams to 60 teams over a span of a year or two. There would still be great players in the NFL, but the overall product would be diluted, right? Because there would be so many teams, and there wouldn't be quite as much talent because the talent would be diluted. And the money would definitely be diluted as well because, it's being spread out to a lot of different places and more people with less to go around. And also with the economy changing. So parking rates are going up downtown. Drink prices are going up downtown. Hotel prices are going up downtown. like the tourism industry in Nashville is booming, but it's also becoming more expensive. And that can affect musicians when musicians are relying exclusively on people's tips because maybe people aren't going to have as much disposable income. And we can see that the economy is kind of drifting in that direction. So it's something that pay on Broadway, you can make money and you can make a living on it. By all means, you can have a great night on Broadway. You can make, like, in a 4-hour shift, you can make $500, $600, $700. You can also walk away from a 4-hour shift with $60 and then, you know, have all that go to cover parking and gas and equipment and have, it's just, so the point I'm making is that it's not just about pay on Broadway. And when I first got to Nashville, you know, I said yes to every gig that came my way because I did not have a name in Nashville yet. I did not have a network. I did not have a grasp on the repertoire. I had been out of practice for a little while, and playing 4 to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week gets you in good shape really quickly. And it gets you to learn a lot of music very quickly. However, it can suck you in where you feel the pressure to say yes to everything. And before you know it, you're playing, literally sitting behind a drum kit 40 to 60 hours a week and have no energy into developing your own music. You have no energy into practicing. You have no energy into pursuing your own career. And you are making enough to get by, but you feel like you can't stop. So that's why I say, like, kind of have your intentions set out. And I knew when I first started playing on Broadway, it was not going to be about money for me. It was going to be building my network and getting some time under my belt. And eventually, that network started paying off. And eventually, I said yes to every gig until I could start saying no, because I had to start saying no. Now, for example, today I was offered, someone asked me, and I never played with this person before, I was recommended to do a shift, and it was going to be 6 to 10, and it was $300 for the band, and it was a 6-person band. So I would play 4 hours, that's not including my time getting down there and getting back, for $50. And they say, yeah, tips are kind of spotty as well. And maybe a couple years ago, I would have said yes to that when I was new in town, because I would have been like, I know this probably isn't going to do anything for me, but you know what? Maybe I can get some content off of here. Maybe I can meet some people. Maybe I can develop my name. But now I'm like, I need to be more intentional with my time. It's like, I said, I would love to help you out. Can you do anything more on the paying? They said, no, that's all we got. I said, it may not be a good fit for you. So the thing about Broadway with pay is very indicative of the rest of the music business, is like, you have to determine, what are you trying to get out of the gig? Is it just money? And there's nothing wrong with that, because we have to pay bills. But maybe it's like, okay, this gig, like, I almost took 3 free gigs this week. Like, they were just 4-song sets, and it was with original artists, and I'm bummed that I didn't get to do it because I didn't respond quick enough. They asked me to do it, and I said, yeah, I'm just going to be 15 minutes late to a rehearsal. And then they end up finding somebody else because I didn't respond in time. But I was going to do that because, oh, it's original artist. There's not that much time involved. I mean, I have to spend several hours, but then I'm going out and branching out into a new scene. And if I was established in that scene, I wouldn't do it for free. But I am kind of new, and I'm trying to, what can I gain from a situation? Now, I should be getting paid for it, but if it's an unpaid opportunity and an artist on the rise, I believe in their music, or they have a good name, or they have good exposure, yeah, maybe I'll do it. But it's like, you have to be really selective about that. So, man, I could go on and on about that. But Annalisa, that was a great question. I want to get to another couple. So Anna said, I went to school for music for a little while and dropped out to enlist in the Army. Now I'm starting over with music, though church playing, and looking for a band, more opportunities to play. Okay, so Anna, where did you go to school for music? And this is also something I really struggled with when I was in school, is because I felt like I needed to go to school for music and I needed to get a degree in music to be legit. And man, playing music is very much like being an athlete, in the sense that going to school helps because you get connections, you develop skills, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's how can you perform? So when you're a musician, you don't put your degree in the background, right? It's like, is this person good? And that's all that matters. And music is also really about building a network. Now, going to music school is great. I'm glad I went because I got a lot of connections, built a lot of skills, but also a lot of debt to pay off as well. Conversely, one of my good friends, he was just playing with Jackson Browne, plays with the Wallflowers, plays with Butch Walker. I don't know if you guys, one of my good friends, Mark Stepro, he went to same school, he was in the same class as me. He went to Capital University, great drum program. And after a year, he dropped out of the music program and switched to English. Like, he switched his major to English. And he graduated with a degree in English. And he's working as a professional drummer right now, and he's great at it. And he's somebody that inspires me because he's really good at, it's like, okay, I want to have some other skills, and I'm curious about other things. And he really he knew what he wanted to do. And life just kind of followed in the way that he ended up it didn't just happen, he intentionally pursued it, but he's a full-time working musician right now, and he's one of my heroes, and he's a buddy, and he gets a degree in English. Doesn't make him any more or less of a musician. Joel. Yeah. So Joel says, requiring your content creator upgrade, it seems overwhelming when you're the only one doing everything. That's absolutely right. I made a video after my gig on Friday about this, where I felt like I was being really mediocre at a lot of different things, like mediocre at content creation, mediocre at music, and not really excelling at anything and just kind of doing these things half-assed. So when I go and do these gigs and I try and live stream them, I have to set up my data hub. I have to set up my camera angle. I have to set up a good audio feed. I have to make sure that the power is enabled. And there's a lot of things I have to manage. And if the feed goes down in the middle of the song, I'm playing a song. And I have to monitor that feed while I'm playing. And I have to monitor, make sure everything's still going while I'm playing. So my attention is really split. And then it's also like, oh, I have to finish this video today because I want to get this up in a regular pattern, but I also want to practice. And what do I do in terms of content and in terms of music? Because both are important, right? You can't just play music and you can't just do content. So you have to find a balance. And it's hard doing it all yourself. So eventually what I would like to do, and this is a year or two down the line, I would really like to hire somebody to work with me, to help me make the content. Doesn't mean it's going to get any easier for me, but it means I'm going to be able to do more. Because I have a lot of things that I want to do. Like right now I'm working on a pack that I can get out that will give people charts, song lists, and kind of tips for coming to Nashville and learning how to play on Nashville. I also have kind of a Nashville number system cheat sheet and blank template for people to create their own charts that I'm going to start putting out there. But then also just having this content, because so many people are really curious about what goes on behind the scenes and about what a Nashville set is like. And I'm like, well, man, there's value in this. And instead of just playing for a couple hundred people in a honky-tonk, I could really set up a mobile studio. If I hired one person, I could get a multi-camera feed for every show. And what if I charge members hey, here's my website, $5 a month, you get to see all of my shows. And you get to see I play 20 gigs a month, probably 20 gigs every 2 weeks. So you would see basically you're paying 50 cents for a 4-hour show to see multiple angles. That's something I would like to do. I just need to get a larger following. And I want to make this affordable for people so that it's not a burden for them and it's an actual valuable resource to them. So Anna says she went to a small school called Grace Bible College, great recording program, but didn't see a point in spending all the money on a degree in a field with not a ton of jobs. Yeah, I mean, that's one way to look at it. And everyone has a different vantage point on ways to look at the music industry and fields surrounding it. And here's what I say about the music industry. There's lots of work, there's lots of money, there's lots of opportunity. There's lots of jobs. Those jobs are always going in different directions. And by the time you get to where that job is, by the time you get there, it's already off in a different direction. It's split off and doing different things. There's a saying, that's probably used way too much, but Wayne Gretzky says, when you're playing hockey, you don't go to where the puck is, you go to where it's going. And why Wayne Gretzky was such a great hockey player was his ability to anticipate where the puck was going. He had an uncanny knack for just knowing the way things were going to break. And I think music is very much the same way. If you keep your ear to the ground, you kind of see trends establishing, and you say, there's a trend I want to go for, I'm going to do that. For me, I felt it was YouTube. I'm not sure why, and maybe it will pay off, maybe it won't, but YouTube might lead me to some other things as well. So that's what I'm thinking about doing, is just like following that trend and creating my own world and reality. Now with recording, yeah, there's the whole home recording revolution, right? Everybody has access to a recording studio in their home now, an interface. So why go to a recording studio? And so if you think about like, okay, what are some trends in recording? How can I get on top of that? How can I monetize that? Like, what are some things that I can do that no one else is doing? And I know some producers who are just like, one producer who is making probably like $250,000 a year just saying Logic Pro tips. Literally. Saying, follow Sides. It's Seids. I follow her. She's doing some great work. But literally, she's made a big chunk of change on just saying, here's a Logic Pro tip you may not have heard about. And she puts that on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And she's kind of like built this whole career just off of that one thing. And I'm not saying you do that per se, but she has an entrepreneurial mind, and she was like, she went to school for singing. She got into engineering, producing. There's always something else you can be doing. Doesn't mean it's easy, and not everybody is built that way. Some people just want to go to a job and punch in. Some people want to have financial security and don't deal well with the uncertainty and that tightrope walk. I thrive under those conditions. Other people don't. Doesn't mean it's good or bad, and doesn't mean you're more or less a musician. It's like thinking about what you want to do. But Anna, if there's like any questions I can answer for you, like, or give you insight, please let me know. It's all about what you make of it, right? And you can make it anywhere. You don't have to be in Nashville. You don't have to be in New York. With the advent of the internet, you can do anything. And so what Joel says, having help is good, but hard to retain if you don't have enough work. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the story of my life. That's the story of music. And that's something that I want to build something sustainable. So I want to play and create, but I'm also doing things like developing passive income streams. So getting music into sync, licensing music, and that's a whole nother topic we can talk about later, but that's something I'm doing more of, writing and getting music into sync. And one of the ideas I had is that, you know what, I'm writing music and it's getting, if I own the publishing or if I own the sync rights, I get that distributed, and then I put that in my own videos on YouTube or my own reels on Instagram. Those are just little dings that bump up that pay revenue. So if I build my audience on YouTube, build my audience on Instagram, whatever platform, and I put my music there in those videos, that's kind of like one hand washing the other. Then I start getting more royalty checks from, sync. And again, they might be like dollars a month. But little things like that add up. and you can do a lot of things to make your own living in music, and you can continue to do big projects, but also continue to work for yourself, and earn some passive income. I want to do some arena tours. Like, that's something I want to do in my life as a drummer, or as a multi-instrumentalist, or both. I also want to be secure financially, and sometimes those two don't align, because in order to chase one, you have to really go all in on it. And that's why I'm focusing on doing things like passive income, so I could maybe then eventually start paying somebody to help me with the content, so that I can continue to create more content, get my name out there, and also pursue what I want to do. So we got time for maybe about one or two more questions, or like thoughts. Shoot me anyone have any more thoughts, questions, anything you want to see coming up this week? Anything you have questions about? Let's hear it. And again, I enjoy everybody who just even spends a second of their time with me. The same thing playing music. I was talking to an engineer about how it's an honor to be a Nashville musician, because you're in the best of the best, and people come to see the best of the best, and it's an honor that someone's spending their free time with me, spending money to see me play. We are in an economy where everybody can be endlessly entertained. They have endless options, and they choose to listen to me. That's an honor. You're choosing to spend your vacation time with me? Cool. I want to be as best as I can. Joel said, I've heard Nashville is a 10-year town. And that's a great question. I'm going to get to that in a second. I really want to answer that one. Is it? Everyone likes to say that, and for some people it is. But really, man, it's I think people say that because they may not have succeeded as quickly as they would have liked. Maybe they weren't intentional. But I've been playing in Nashville for about 2 years now, and I'm making a full-time living at it. Am I making bank? Am I flush with cash? No, I still worry about money, but it's my full-time job. Doesn't mean it's easy, but if you come to Nashville and you have intentions of doing something specific and playing and going after it, yeah, it's a lot quicker than 10 years. Doesn't mean it's easy, and you have to have a lot of confidence, and you have to be really willing and prepared to just get beat up a lot and get humbled a lot. But yeah, Nashville is again, I'm going on 2 or 3 years here. I've only been playing again, the first year I was in Nashville, I barely even played. That's the honest truth. But then once I started playing, it's okay, that first year, that's when I said yes to everything. I tried to meet as many different musicians as I possibly could, play with as many different musicians as I possibly could, and just build my network. And I didn't worry about money. I didn't worry about if somebody was good enough to play with or if they were going to do anything for my career. I was all right, I'm just going to do this gig. Second year, I started getting a little bit more selective and choosy, and I guess now I'm going to be coming up on my, I'm still in my second year, but in my third year, my third year is things I'm not going to say it's what is making it, what is not. I started making a full-time living in less than a year. So March 2023 is when I decided to go full-time. And so I'm making a living right now. And so we're just literally just going on 1 year. But again, it's I went all in on it. I jumped with both feet in. I didn't look back. And that may not be the strategy everybody else wants to take. But yeah, life can be a 10-year town. Lily, I'll have to check out. Uli, sorry. Yeah, maybe I need to make my font bigger. I'll check out that 10-Year Talent podcast. So Anna, so you have a question about tuning drums on a backline kit very quickly. Uh, and I'm posting a little bit of a reel there. And that's what I like to do when I'm very quickly tuning a backline kit. It is just it's like I'm just earballing it. Because sometimes you only have like 30 seconds. And sometimes I really like to tune both heads, but sometimes I can't do that. And so I just shared a link. It's just basically like getting in there, getting down and dirty with it. Yeah, one thing I always do, I always bring my own snare to a backline kit, and if the snare sounds good, that's the majority of it. We have any other questions, any other thoughts while I'm here? Anything you would like me to see, or you would like to see coming up this week? I think I'm going to try to I'm going to live stream my Friday gig with with Aaron Nichols, 2 to 6. I'm also playing with Cara Granger. Cara Granger is a great singer-songwriter, great guitarist. I'm playing with her 5:30 to 7:30 on Saturday, and I'm going to live stream that as well. And it's really only in my budget to stream one show per week. But I was like, you know what? I really want the world to see both of these artists, and I'm hoping that doing things like this will kind of really help increase my audience. So I'm going to be streaming both of those this week if anybody wants to check them out. And always looking for supports. So, of course, donations always help, but not everyone has the money to donate. So if you can't donate, engage, comment, share this with somebody else. But if I can start getting more of an audience, more numbers, that helps drive more people to this page and get more advertising revenue. And again, this isn't make or break, but I'm trying to grow this channel and create more content for people so I can help people. Because my mission for this whole channel is to really be the resource for musicians that I didn't have when I was coming up. So I'm going to show you, okay, this is like a real live look at being a musician. Here's the real answers. Here's the questions you don't get in music school. Joel said, yeah, Joel, thank you for, Joel, that makes my day. So Joel says I did a video on backline drum kits in Nashville. I have about another 30 or 40 kits that I wanted to showcase, but I was trying to keep the video under 10 minutes and keep it moving. And, there's only so many hours in a day. And I said, you know what? I'm a drummer, not a content creator. I'm just going to do what I can. And I stayed up probably till 5 or 6 in the morning finishing that video. And the noise about the shield of shame, I'm glad somebody caught that. Yeah, and it's funny because I got a couple hundred views on that video, which is great. And I'm not doing it to go viral, but sometimes I'll do a video off the cuff, I did an off the cuff one about just a tuning technique that some people find controversial. But it has 35,000 views, and it took me 3 minutes to create, as opposed to something which took me 20 hours to create, and I have 200 views. That's the way social media works, but that's also the way music works. Sometimes you write a song, and you craft it, and you think it's so great, and it totally flops, and then sometimes you just make something off the cuff, and it just sticks with people. But that's the great thing about art and creation is you never know. Yes, and the old glass case of emotion. Yes. There's drummers who really hate these glass cases of emotion. I mean, I'm just okay, it is what it is. It's different when I'm playing the gig at the Valentine, but it gets a really good drum sound in that room. So I have no control or say over it. I would much rather play behind plexiglass shields than the absolute worst, which is playing on electronic kits. I just hate electronic kits. It's like the turkey bacon of drums. And that's even an insult to turkey bacon. Yeah. So, but if you could share this with people, if you know somebody who likes this or who would benefit from this stuff, please share. Please subscribe, please set notifications. Like, any engagement really helps. If you want to donate financially, I'm doing things. I'm buying separate cameras, I'm buying additional hard drive space, buying some lighting. I'm also working on finding a space to either buy or rent permanently where I can set up to do interviews and talk with other musicians and do this on a regular basis. And I want to make sure to get all different types of people from different walks of life and different backgrounds and different instruments and different styles. Because a lot in the music industry, there's a common thread. And if I can like find ways to kind of needle those common threads so that it's applicable to a wide audience of people and applicable to people who are really interested in doing something with music. Maybe not being a full-time professional. Even if they're a weekend warrior, what if they just want, or maybe if they want to do an album or understand what it's like to work as a musician in Nashville. I just want to give people more of a realistic look at things. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be, I'm probably dropping several $1,000s here coming up in this coming week, and those will start coming in over like the next month, the new gear. And I've just decided to kind of just invest in it myself and bet on myself. And hopefully things will happen. If they don't, oh well. But I'm going to sign off right now. Thank you so much for tuning in, for watching. I appreciate all of you for spending your time with me. I'm going to be here every Sunday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much. Man, shoot me a message, comments. I'll see you guys next week.